All right, so I am joined by one of my best friends on planet Earth, young Jeffrey Kennedy, my man. Just thank you for being on the second podcast ever of, I think we're naming it the Duff Daddy Experience, which I think is kind of hilarious.
That's fitting.
So yeah, Jeff and I, we've been homies for what, 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
We actually met waiting tables, a few years ago. And I found this gem of a human being who is into the same shit that I'm in, which is doing psycho shit in the mountains, like running, backpacking, snowboarding. This guy is a legend already at the ripe old age of 21. I don't believe it. I don't know. Gabby was just on this podcast. She's also 21. I'm thinking, what's with these Gen Z kids? I was just fucking around and smoking weed, and now these kids are about it, living life. So again, Jeff, thank you for coming on. Maybe just tell people a little bit about your background, history.
Yeah, so I'm Jeffrey, go by JFK, Jeffrey fucking Kennedy. I've been a snowboard coach coming up on my 8th season now, certified through AASI and IFSA. So I've coached anything from freestyle riding to big mountain and things of that sort. Yeah. And
you also taught me how to snowboard last year, bro. You got some hilarious videos of me looking like a goober out there, too. Yeah, those are iconic. And never again, bro. Never again will I look that lame on a snowboard, bro.
Right. Get you off the rental board, bro.
Exactly. Get me off the rental board. Yeah. Big things cooking for this winter. I'm so stoked.
Yeah.
But just Jeff and I have been doing, again, crazy mountain shit. Like we just did a 27-mile loop, basically 25 of which we did in one day with big backpacking backpacks on. And the last 3 hours, like 5 miles of it, was in the pitch black in a rainstorm, and we only had one headlamp between 3 guys. It's fucking hilarious. And again, it takes a certain breed to be down for that, to be down to honestly suffer, to put yourself in those situations in the backcountry where, everything's on you. If you fuck up, you can die. You know what I mean? Like, if we weren't prepared and we got hit with rain when it's 50 degrees out, we could die, So it takes a certain breed to A, want to do that, B, to know how to do that. And again, just to step up to the plate and push ourselves to see what we can do, to go to hilarious 25 miles in a day with packs on. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, and I know you're a savage like that. I'm a savage like that. Why? Why do that?
Yeah, 100%. One thing that I've found, I love working out, I love running, but I found that the backcountry is really the only place that I can push myself to that extent. When you're out there, like Ben said, everything is on you and your own safety is in your hands. And what happens when you start operating like that is you get into this place of, one, a radical trust with yourself, which we talked about. But two, also, the more that you're out there, the more that you get a flavor for it and the more that you start to crave that intensity. I think about it, maybe someone that doesn't like spicy food, they try it. And then over time, you just get not even numb to it, but you get callous to it. And you just start, one, expecting more out of yourself. And you start expecting yourself to move better and better and better over big terrain over time.
And that's just with backcountry camping. So that's, again, throwing a pack on your back with all your camping gear and just walking for days. And like you said, what I'm hearing is sort of you build up a tolerance to the intensity. And when I say intensity, it's almost like exposure, suffering, pain, my feet hurt, it's hot, all of these things that, again, a lot of, house cat type people just are like, why? I don't get it. And, everyone is different. I'm not going to say there's a better or worse, but me and you, we're just outdoor dogs and we just got to run, dog.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, now we're doing ultra marathons. We've done the Power 4 in Aspen, which is a psycho race. It's so it's a 50K. It was at 32 miles. The kicker is the 10,000 feet up and the 10,000 feet down where, I'm legit waddling down these ski resorts. So it's up and down all 4 ski resorts in the town of Aspen. And bro, it is steep. Your quads are cramping. My knees are hurting. I'm chafing all over. And it's interesting because there's a smile on my face. I'm like, this is it. This is what I've been avoiding. This is that radical pain. And I'm just relishing in it. I'm like, thank God, here it is.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting. We've talked about this a little bit. I think there's something deeply spiritual about pain and endurance in particular, about pushing yourself through that pain, learning how to open to suffering. Because when I'm running a race, I'm not gonna stop. I gotta break my leg to stop that race. So if I sign up, I'm finishing it. And at that point, like the mind will be like, this hurts. I don't know. Like, should we stop? And you have to say, no, we shouldn't. Because I'm finishing this race. And if I stop, it's gonna be a lot harder. So you sort of learn to really open to intense pain. And there's something like almost, I get like Christian mythology in my head where it's like the crucifixion of Christ, like that degree of pain, taking it on, opening to it. It's actually like within the pain and specifically opening to it that you have a direct line to goodness. It's like let yourself break physically, mentally, emotionally, because that's how the light gets through. And again, for me, there's something so good, so like righteous is the word, about that pain and pushing yourself over and over and over. And I think it goes against this sort of woke paradigm, which is, in order to love yourself, just play video games and eat pizza and just sleep till noon. And I'm in the opposite camp where I'm like, push yourself. Your body wants it. Your mind wants it. Life itself is asking you to be courageous. And will you rise to the occasion? Or will we play video games and order a pizza? Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not going to say right or wrong. For me, it's obvious, and so I'm curious what you think about that.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that I've learned is, when maybe you're in a period of life where things aren't going your way and everything just seems to be following you with the black cloud, that's when we begin to crave comfort. And what happens is when we crave comfort and we live in comfort when we actually don't deserve it is when things get really, really bad.
Yeah.
Because you're living in luxury, you're living in comfort without any rhyme or reason. You didn't earn it. And you're just there and you are taking quite literally the easiest path. And, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're taking the easiest path, you have the option, let's do something hard. Let's go push ourselves, or let's just go chill on the couch and smoke weed all day. What you're doing every time that you choose one of those two options, you're reaffirming this story to yourself about who you are. Right. And the more that you stack that evidence on top of it, you begin to build this story about, my life just sucks. I'm weak. I can't do this. I can't pull chicks. I can't, like, whatever. You know what I mean? Versus when you choose to do the opposite and you choose to push yourself, when you choose to find that edge that is so uncomfortable, after a while, it's like it's not even an uncomfortability. Like Ben was saying, you can just open to it. And that's where the magic happens. Totally. I remember running during the Power of 4. It was like mile 23, mile 24. My feet are just absolutely shredded, blood blisters popping, the whole deal. And I remember just being in so much pain that I got chills. I was like, this is kind of the worst of it. Like, fucking bring it on. Yeah. Like, if I can make it this far and I can suffer this much, bring it on. Let's rise to the new occasion. Let's keep making this happen.
And the thing is, you got no choice. You either dip out of the race and get a DNF, or you keep going. Yeah. And the mind, interestingly, nips that resistance in the bud, saying, should I stop? I don't know. Maybe it would be easier that way. That's resistance. And that resistance doesn't just lead to pain, suffering, and making your life just way more torturous. It actually is suffering. So the more I'm resisting it, the more I'm like, this actually does suck, because not only is it painful, I'm resisting that pain. So when we open to that pain, the suffering, it's like you pop a hole in the cloud and it all gets drained out. Where yes, there's pain. It's not experienced in the same way where it's immense suffering. And again, so your mind is like almost building these boundaries where it's like, I'm not stopping. I don't give a fuck. And then like you just keep going and you don't let that resistance, you don't give it any opportunity to take root and sprout. And then you're chilling on this wave of just radical openness. And again, I think you and I are very similar in that way where we're down for that. And I think everyone is just in a different position as far as like really opening to discomfort. And what I found again through the meditative lens is when we open to discomfort, when we stop resisting it, and this is not just physical discomfort, emotional discomfort, darkness, spiritual confusion, whatever it is, if we can actually allow it, then it'll become not that bad. It's our own resistance that is actually what's hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And we think, oh no, it's out there. That's what hurts. No, it's your mind and your relationship that is constructing a story of suffering, of this doesn't fit my story. This is not okay. I need to get out of this experience. Great. You're creating suffering. It's not coming to you. You're creating it. So there's something, again, so profound about ultras. And for me, it does give me almost like a meditation retreat kind of feeling because it's raw.
Mm-hmm.
You're with yourself. There's no one you're objectively in competition with. Well, no. I mean, if you want to get first place, you're definitely in competition with people. But for me, it's me versus me and you, because I'm definitely not losing to Jeff. Let's be honest. But yeah, no, it's very personal. And I think it comes down to your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your pain, your relationship with life in general. And it really becomes this microcosm for how do we experience life. And I know that, and you can talk about this or you don't have to, but you had a period that was pretty dark for you recently. And I'll let you explain that just with various injuries, and especially because you're so physical and so outdoorsy, how debilitating that was for you. So, yeah, if you feel comfortable, I'd love to hear you speak on that.
100%. So I was coaching snowboarding out at Woodward Copper, which is one of only 2 facilities in North America that has a snowboard ski camp year round. And it was quite literally my last 2 days of this summer season. And I was coaching a trick that I'd done maybe once or twice the entire season. And I took too much speed going into the 3rd jump and absolutely wrecked my shit, concussed myself, fractured my hand, got some pretty gnarly cuts and scrapes that are all healed up now. So not looking as rugged and sexy as I was then, but
bro, you're looking just what the fuck are you talking about?
So yeah. And then with that, right, I had all this momentum built up throughout the summer. I was crushing snowboarding. I was crushing the mountain runs, and then I had this concussion and it quite literally took everything that I loved away from me. Because I find a lot of solace in doing physical things, working out, running, snowboarding. And, I had to take a step back for it for like a month and a half between the concussions and injuries. And, for a while during like probably the first 2 weeks of that recovery process, it was honestly quite dark. It was like I would sit in bed, sleeping, migraines all day, light sensitivity, noise sensitivity. And
because of the concussion,
yeah. And just being that still for that long, that sustained, to be honest, got really, really hard to open to it, because it was a complete 180 of how I typically live my life. And I just realized, I have all this time to myself, and, it got to a point where the highlight of my day was stepping out on my balcony and eating food, because that was like all I could do. After a while, I just began to realize that this injury, the concussion, it's not going to last forever. And actually, because I have all this free time, all this time to think, I should lean into it and I should open to it. And as my concussion recovery went on and as my condition improved, I just started feeling this fire inside of me like I never have before. I was so hungry to get back after it in the gym, get back after it in the mountains. And then we just recently went on a big backpacking trip. And there were points where I was quite legitimately almost in tears, because it was like, this is what I live for. This is what I love to do. And I am 10,000 times more grateful now because I've seen what it's like to have that stripped away from me. And I think it's a really good homage just to, as cliche as this sounds, not take anything for granted, because it really can change just like that.
Totally. And yeah, beautifully said. I want to say also, Jeff fucked up his knee when we were running up Long's Peak before the concussions. And again, Jeff is like such a go-getter, just spending time in the mountains as much as possible. Like, it doesn't matter the season, winter, summer, all good.
Yeah.
And to hear that taken from him, we weren't in contact for a few weeks. I was just busy doing stuff. I think it was like that Burning Man festival bender 3-week thing. But I hit him up. I was like, Jeff, how are you doing? Because like me and him are so similar, and to have the physical element of life taken away, bro, that's dark, dude. That's dark. And I do a lot of meditation, and even so, man, if I wasn't able to move my body or to spend time again in beautiful places, like, again, it's interesting to see what comes up. And you told me this, that you actually really got into meditation in this period. And I'm just curious how that helped you, why you did that.
Yeah, 100%. Again, it just goes back to having so much time with myself and not being able to do anything, right? Like with the concussions, you'll get just waves of tiredness that you feel like you can't overcome, and all you want to do is sleep. And I was like, well, if I just sleep my days away, I'm not utilizing this time for anything good. And if anything, it's just kind of reaffirming all these negative stories that I've been telling myself throughout the recovery process. And so I started meditating, and what I learned through these meditations was really how fragile this story that I constructed of who I am actually is.
Wow.
Because it's like, all right, not a snowboarder anymore, not a mountaineer, not a trail runner. I'm an injured person with a concussion. How does that make me feel about myself? And for a while it was, really, really low confidence. Almost, I would honestly quite call it depression, just because of how sustained it was. And I realized, I'm like, well, if my identity of who I am is so deeply tied to what I do, what happens when it goes away? Who am I when it goes away? And, I had to learn that regardless of what I do, whether I'm crushing in the mountains or if I'm taking time off and recovering, I am still me, and I am still existence. I'm still everything. And I can tap into that if I feel like it.
Yeah. And I mean, beautifully said, bro. Beautifully said. And I think, again, when we have our identities taken from us, that's when we enter into this place of almost like a forced experience of our emptiness, where, okay, this is all taken from me. Who am I beyond these things? And you enter this place of not knowing. I'm unsure. I can't put my finger on it. Again, Buddhism would call that emptiness, or shunyata is the Pali word. And because there is no way that we are, no objective identity that we hold beyond our fabricated, constructed ideas of who we are. And that gives the ego, the solid separate self, something to stand on, where, hey, I'm a snowboarder, I'm a mountain guy, that's who I am. And when it gets taken from us, actually it's it's the ego that is now flailing. Where am I? Who am I if I'm not that? And actually what's going on there is, so the ego, the separate self, needs a solid reference to exist at the level of our perception. And when those solid references fall out, the solidity of the ego also falls. So it's like a death experience for the ego. And it can be really uncomfortable, depending on the degree that we're clinging to a certain identity. Because what I found with Buddhism in particular is if and when, I would say when, we can let go into that emptiness, it's not empty in a nihilistic, meaningless kind of sense. This emptiness, this void, is actually pregnant with infinity, and I mean that literally. The absence of anything set means it implies the possibility of everything and anything. So when we can take that step into the unknown, into the void, that's when we can hit those really profound rebirth experiences where I can become something I never thought was possible, because I'm opening to the infinite. I'm opening to something that is not defined yet. Because when we define ourselves, we actually limit ourselves. I don't like country music. That's very mild example, but like when you say that, okay, great. Anytime you hear country, I'm like, ugh. And you cut yourself off from maybe some beautiful expressions. So thank you for sharing that. I know it can be vulnerable, and thank you for opening up about that. Now, nobody worry, Jeff is back in the mountains.
Going harder than ever.
Than ever. That hike we did was so stupid, bro. Yo, we went out there with our homie Marco, and he's got like fancy ass cameras, and he brought hella gear into the mountains for this 30-mile loop. I brought so many fits. Just wait for the IG posts that are about to drop. But we literally were out there and we were just posting up in insane locations, doing crazy photo shoots in the backcountry. And I'm like, this is what I want to be doing with my boys. Take some steezy pictures and upload the Riz later, and just and then again, but we kind of fucked ourselves. Well, the loop said it was 23 miles. It was more like 27 when we clocked it. But yeah, basically we end with this 5-mile, 6-mile descent. Yeah, in the dark, in the rain. And it was just unexpected. But again, that's when the boys really showed up. And, you know, tension was there between us because we're like, yo, we're in this fucked situation. Literally, I'm just going to say it. I was the only one with a working headlamp. Everyone else's was like a little glimmer. It was like, bro, y'all need batteries in that shit. So it's pitch black in the rain in the mountains. And we're hearing noises. These guys are saying they smell a wet animal. And I'm like, yo, it was a really interesting experience, honestly, because I'm like, I've hiked at night a lot by myself, and it's sketchy just because you're in your mind and you're seeing how much your mind is actually creating fear. It's almost like I really think we are addicted to fear. We're addicted to the solidity of contraction, if that makes sense. I hope it does. But we're addicted to fear in some ways. So it's like anything we heard, anything that could reaffirm this story of, oh, we're fucked. There's creatures out here. And there are. But like, you know, logically speaking, 3 dudes hiking together, a bear wouldn't attack that. I mean, not a black bear. Probably not a grizzly bear either, honestly. But a mountain lion, unless it's like sick or fucked in the head, isn't going to do anything. And that's always a possibility. We get a mentally unwell mountain lion that's supposed to fuck with us. But but yeah, no, I mean, I want to hear your take on it because it is like sketchy. Yeah, you're out there for hours just hiking. You can't see shit. And it's raining. And yeah, it's just interesting to see and really just ask the question, how much of that fear are we making in our heads, you know?
Yeah. And like, honestly, I had some time to reflect after that day in the mountains. And, you know, I was going through the day in my head and everything was going so swell. Even when it was still daylight out and we're getting snowed, rained on, I was like, you know, this is like chill. Like maybe I'm a little wet, a little cold. But as soon as that sun went down and it was pitch black and you're in the mountains, it was like a light switch, quite literally, where it's like your brain is just saying, yo, this is fucked. This is out here. What if we're lost? We can't get our bearings. You know, we have no headlamps. We're leaving one guy in our group behind because his headlamp doesn't work. Yeah. You know, and it was just, I don't even want to say it was cool. But it was kind of fucking sick. Kind of cool. Type 2. Yeah, that type 2, type 3 fun. Yeah. And yeah. And it was just really interesting to see how quickly the mind wants to go ahead and make up those stories.
And it's because, interestingly, we don't have that certainty of what's around us. Like, I'm not looking in the woods and being like, yep, no bears. You know what I mean? We actually don't know. And so with that, and it's so interesting, and this is like a microcosm, with that uncertainty, it's so interesting to see what the mind habitually goes towards, which is fear. And that's the thing. Even if, you know, your lady friend, your partner, they don't hit you back one night, you know, they're out partying, you just assume, oh, they cheated on me. Yeah. Or, oh, they don't give a fuck about me. At least, I don't know, maybe I'm just a wounded individual, which is honestly maybe facts. But at the same time, just interesting to see the mind just habitually goes there. And evolutionarily, it does make sense because I've heard the saying, you know, we're going to run, you know, as primates, we're going to run faster towards away from a tiger than we are towards a banana, right? So the things that invoke fear are probably higher priority. So that's where the mind is going to go. And this is not just in situations in the backcountry, right? This is in life where it's like, oh, I lost my job. We have a lot of space here. We don't know what life is going to be like in 6 months. And just notice where the mind goes. Worst case scenario, I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to get addicted to crack. I'm going to prison and we're getting, I'm not going to go there. But literally just notice where is your mind and understand when we have that space, that not knowing, again, that void, lack of definition in our future, we can make it anything. What if it's so much better than you ever could have predicted? What if things open up in such beautiful ways that you can't predict, you can't understand, you can't foresee. We don't even go there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting to see, again, if I start to not just inhabit fear-based narratives, but I start to act from them, where, I'm going to be homeless if I don't save all my money, so I got to sell my car and all this stuff. If you're acting from that fear, you're actually reaffirming that fear-based narrative is objectively real.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually saying, yep, it's real, and thus I have to live by that. And what happens if we choose love, if we choose trust, if we choose like faith, a word that I think is not used enough in our culture today. If I had faith in myself, in creation, in forces bigger than I, how would I interact? Where maybe I can't see this divinely orchestrated plan, but can I trust it? And if things have to hurt, can we recognize the beauty of pain?
Right.
Can we recognize the beauty of suffering, where it builds character, it adds depth, it makes your life meaningful? And you might have known some people that are very wealthy. I have. And when there's a certain amount of wealth, and that they don't have to enter into suffering in the same way that just, normal people have to, then something's missing in the being. And it's the richness, the fertility of the shadow, of the darkness. And we forget that. We say, when I'm in the darkness, fuck this, I don't want to be here. And look back at your life. The most formative, meaningful experiences that made you who you are and gave you direction are painful. It's loss, it's grief, it's uncertainty. It's the shit we don't want to sit in. But can we look back and recognize the value of it? And not that it will make it easier. It's supposed to suck by design. So if it was easy, it would lose its value, actually. So can we change our relationship to darkness, to struggle, where we are comfortable sinking our teeth in that and not marinating it in an unhealthy kind of way, but taking it as it comes and recognizing, hey, I don't know the plan, but I trust that it is for my best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back on the ways that I got legitimately traumatized by people in my family, by the first intimate partners I've ever had. Traumatized, and I don't even like using that word because it has a connotation. But after doing grad school, psychotherapy grad school, I'm like, yep, that's trauma. That's for sure trauma. And I look back on it, at those experiences that fucked me up for years, and I now say thank you for fucking me up, for giving me direction, for being like, hey, you need to heal from this, and when you do, you'll be able to teach others how to do the same thing. And we're struggling as a collective humanity right now, really dealing with trauma. This is this age, this prophetic age of reckoning, of the darkness coming to the surface. And now that it's here, now what?
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to work with it. Now we have to heal it. And I feel so blessed because, again, it forced me to be the best person possible. Get in the gym, push yourself, do new things, meet new people, explore life. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And this certain paradigm of self-love that's, I'm just gonna eat pizza and chill on the couch. Not that there's not a place for that. I'm a psycho, I get it. But at the same time, what is the value of pain and suffering? So
yeah, one thing that my dad always told me growing up, it's what defines you isn't what happens to you, it's how you choose to respond to it. Mm-hmm. And it really comes down to this sink or swim, right? And the easiest way out is to sink. The easiest way out is to let your mind construct all of these negative connotations about your life, who you are, what's going on. Mm-hmm. And again, I think part of the beauty of all of this is when it's unknown, that's actually where the value is at. Yeah. When it is unknown, it might feel scary, it might feel constricting, but we can flip that lens and realize that when it's unknown, our possibilities are actually endless.
Totally. Well said. And so that's the thing. That's where these conceptual understandings enter into practice, where it's okay, just notice. First, we need to use mindfulness, meaning just becoming aware of what's present. Where is my mind? Where is my mind right now in this moment? What am I focusing on? What am I ruminating about? What can I not let go of? And notice that. And habitually, again, the things that we can't let go of are the contractions in the psyche.
Mhm.
They hook us. The thing, oh, that one weird thing I said, or I feel like everyone's better than me, or I don't know what I'm doing. It's fear-based contraction. And
Mhm.
then we can get hooked on it even more. And actually, just briefly, that's sort of what trauma is a contraction that is painful in the psyche. And when the psyche contracts, it creates something, again, solid and real, that it can resist and contract against even more. Because the secret is you really can't resist or contract against something that isn't real. So it's sort of a feedback loop. And I don't want to stay at that depth, honestly. Just it's a little too much for, I think, our conversation. But just recognizing, where am I contracted? And what could use a little bit of love? And when I say love, like, some people have, like, I think that's a cliche word, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And also, like, when I say that, it's sort of, I use it in this sort of binary sense where you could say all of experience is either fear or love, contraction or expansion, in a very simple way. That's the ebb and flow of creation in different levels, in different strata, different dimensions, you could say. So this ebb and flow of contraction and expansion, recognize there's nothing wrong with any of it. But if you want to improve your experience, asking the question, where can I use some expansion? And that also means making space for the pain, making space for the struggle. Because a lot of the times we have this conditioned belief that if I'm struggling, something's wrong. Something's definitely wrong. I fucked up. Somebody help. Somebody fix me. And obviously there's a place for getting assistance, but at the same time, that is a relationship of resistance towards your resistance.
Mhm.
And if you want to break that feedback loop again, you just have to inject some love, some spaciousness, saying, actually, this is okay. Yes, it hurts. Yes, I wish things were different at one level, but it's okay. It's okay right now. And interestingly, then you break that cycle of more and more contraction with a little bit of expansion and love. And that's where you can start to get more malleability and maneuverability in those really conceptual experiences, their narratives, their stories. And we forget that they're stories. We forget that they're fantasies. These are the words of psychologist James Hillman, who I talk about a lot, the founder of archetypal psychology, who says that our issue is that we have forgotten that what we call reality is actually a fantasy. It's inseparable from our made up stories, narratives, conceptual overlays onto this thing we call reality. And we have this idea that what's going on in my head, that's not real. That's just in my head. If you pay closer attention, you'll see what's going on in your head is being projected onto everything that you're experiencing, onto the world you walk through, your relationships, your interactions, your experience of yourself is all in here. It's not out there. At least if you think it's out there, it's going to be difficult to make real progress.
Mm-hmm.
When you recognize that it's internal, you can start to really make progress.
100%.
Because again, I love this slogan that I constructed, is that we're creating heaven on earth from the inside out. Creating heaven on earth from the inside out. What does that mean to you? Where is your desire leading you? And the desire for, yes, social connection, intimate connection with the earth, connection with yourself, the narratives, the archetypes, the imaginal figures that you're actually inhabiting right now. Or can we make those conscious and start to construct different imaginal figures that invoke a different experience? And again, the archetypes, as far as like the warrior, the magician, the lover, the king, they carry themselves differently. They invoke a different experience of who I am. And can we start to play with those? Can we start to play with those things intentionally, consciously choosing what archetype do I want to inhabit, while simultaneously firmly holding on to, again, the emptiness of all of them, where we're free. I'm not saying, oh, I'm objectively the king. That's your boy. But, the freedom is not in holding too tightly. When you hold too tightly, you're trapping yourself in a made up cage in your mind. If you can hold things loosely, then you can oscillate between, sometimes I'm the lover, sometimes I'm just Ben, the normal dude, sometimes I'm the king, sometimes I'm the mountain goat, whatever. And you can oscillate. by understanding they're all equally as real and all equally as made up in your head as any other story you could come to. And so there's a lot of richness there. And I want to bring this back to what we started with. What archetypes are we inhabiting when we do psycho shit in the mountains? Like, what are the imaginal figures that are living, breathing through us?
Yeah. You know, honestly, I got into this mindset when we were hiking up Hope Pass out in Leadville. And, you know, it got me thinking because it was such a brutal climb going back up going the backside up Hope Pass. And it really got me thinking about where I came from, the origin of my story, you know, and I'm sure we've talked about it. You know, I was adopted at 6 months old and came from quite literally like the slums of Ohio, like the most opposite of opposites to the life I'm living now. Yeah. And it was like, all right, well, if I can pull myself out of that, grow up, move out on my own, be my own man at 18, make a life that I absolutely love living. I kind of compared it to that climb. It was like, it was absolutely so hard. But after a while of doing that climb and after a while of creating a life that I love, you realize that that's where the meaningfulness and the purpose is actually rooted in. In the climb. In the climb. It's not in the destination. Yeah. You know, it's not getting to the top of the pass. It's not to whatever your idea of being successful is, you know, and it's when you can actually just fall in love with that process, when you can fall in love with the grind, when you can fall in love with the suck. That is such a powerful feeling because you can take that into literally any other aspect of your life, relationships, career, whatever you want to do. And if you can focus all of your attention towards being present during whatever you don't want to experience, you are then able to construct your own reality and you can bring enjoyment to the things that are hard that you don't want to do. Yep. And when you're able to enjoy that and when you're able to, like you said, relish in it, that is such a powerful feeling deeply that you walk through the rest of your life with, saying, hey, I am this kind of person that loves the suck. I'm the kind of person that loves the journey. And when you love the journey so much, there's a quote that I love. It's, if you do what you love, you'll never work harder. And when you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I don't agree with that. I think when you do what you love, you'll never work harder at it. Yeah. You know, just because you're so deeply involved and so deeply in love with the process.
Yeah. Well said, bro. I think so many things just popped in my head in regards to what you're saying. One of which is the saying that I told you guys, I forget where I heard it, but it's this notion that if you want to improve your life, keep putting off the comfort, keep putting off the good feeling, and keep putting your nose to the grindstone. And if that means, I want to smoke a spliff and just watch TV, do the dishes and go to bed. If, you know, you want to eat some pizza, cook some grass-fed beef. Yep. I mean, that shit's delicious. Let's be honest. But again, if you want to, instead of, I just finished like an 8-hour day of work, I just want to relax, hit the gym and do these things. Put yourself in those uncomfortable situations enough that, again, you just organically change your relationship to it. Exactly. Where I don't have a choice. I'm doing it. And when you, again, put up those boundaries, it's not that bad. And all of a sudden your life starts to get better and better and better because you're choosing discomfort. And just notice, do you need that comfort? And some people be like, you know, maybe think I'm masochistic, and I might be. I mean, whatever these definitions mean, who knows? But like, I think try it out. Try out, again, just asking the question, how much comfort do I need? How much do you need? Let's look at crazy spiritual teachers. We got Christ, we got the Buddha, both of which wandered with nothing. What do you think their quality of experience was? I would guess a lot better than ours. A lot better than ours. These are real human beings, if you want to call them that. And that's the thing. What happened? They constructed heaven on earth from the inside out in different ways. The Christ and the Buddha, but at the same time, understanding the mind and understanding how it is projecting our experience. It's projecting hell or heaven or just mundane, flat, materialistic existence. It's all fluid.
Mhm.
And we get trapped in saying, oh, it's this way or that way. If we, again, work from the inside out, we can start to recognize, oh, I don't need tons of stuff. I don't need nice clothes. I don't need any security. The Christ and Buddha wandered. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so can I just wander with nothing and live an extremely high quality of experience? And I would say yes. From my time really engaging in meditation, when things become very still, really pure, and really, really pleasant, you're like, oh, it's never been out there. It's never been out there. It's so interesting in our culture. We get this paradigm, this conditioned belief that if I want to be happy, if I want to have a high quality of life, I need X amount of money, the perfect intimate partner, or many of them. I need all these fancy vacations and to consume all of these experiences. Do you need those things? Because oftentimes the way I see it is we actually create a wall between ourselves and really deep, profound love and peace by saying, I will not accept my life until I have $1 million, for instance. And great. Then until you reach that point, you're actually blocking yourself from the universal love that we all have access to when we open. So again, we already have the keys to open those doors, but we actually have this illusion thinking, oh, it's out there. I need to work my ass off to make $1 million, and then I'll allow myself to love myself. Or once I get the perfect partner, or, just a dime trophy wife and, dope person, whatever, I'm traveling the world, we're making a difference. It's up to you, whatever that, that boundary is between you and love, but recognize it's not objectively there. We made it between profound peace, profound love, beauty. It's actually already here with all of us. It's just the fact that we have built walls unconsciously between us and that love. And when we recognize that, if you want to tap into real deep love that will bring you to your knees, you don't have to look for it out there. What's that Rumi poem, which is your job is not to seek for love. It's to remove the obstacles in the way between you and it. And I mean, it's so actually like that. So the question is, what do you want? And just to bring this full circle, I don't think there's anything wrong with building boundaries between you and that universal love. Because what happens when you really access that profound, like cushy acceptance, love, warmth, life gets really easy. And you don't have that same fire under your ass, that same motivation to explore the world, become new things, make new connections, because you did it. You're there. You're dwelling in infinite bliss. And that's not a hyperbole. That's a fact. If you open in those deeply, just really radical ways, first become aware of where am I contracted, and you learn how to open to those things, life becomes profoundly beautiful. And you don't need anything. You don't need anything. But again, is that the story you want to live? And pulling it back into the archetypal depth psychological angle, maybe the daimons, the spirits, the messengers from places beyond, want something from us. They want you to live a certain life. They want you to play a role in the theater of creation. And maybe that role is not dwell in bliss, at least not all the time. Maybe that role means suffer, push yourself, become something great in a unique way, right? So,
yeah. And to that point, this summer, I really fell in love with this mantra of, and you've heard it many times, moving like it's already yours. And what that means to me is the universe is not going to bless you with the burden to carry out your purpose unless you are already acting in the way like you already have it. And what I mean by this is, imagine everything that you want, your version of success, or your version of you made it. Yeah, you have the material things that are like tangible that tell you that, but spiritually, mentally, how are you operating when you have those things? You're operating out of abundance. You're operating out of love. And like you were saying, you can't just wait your whole life to reach the top of the mountain, right? You have to act like you're on top of the mountain every step of the way there. Because when you do that, the universe recognizes that, you recognize that, and you start looking for opportunities in everything because that is the vibration that you are on.
You're holding, I mean, that vibration, that psychological state, whatever you want to call it, of abundance, of love. I have it all. I have it all, really. And that place is a practice. Because again, we don't need to be anywhere in particular. We don't need any amount of money. We don't need anything external. We just need to make the choice that says, oh, this is absolutely enough. And that's something you can do right now. And interestingly, I like this quote, which is, the universe doesn't bring you more of what you want. It brings you more of what you are. So again, when you're in that place of abundance, it's like a paradox, because basically you're so deeply content and good, you actually don't need anything. And from that place of, again, letting go, not clinging and holding on, the universe is just giving you. It's like, oh, he's ready. I'm just going to gift him with dope experiences, more frosting on the cake, really, because you're already there. You already made it. And this experience of being like deeply whole and in abundance, it's not just something you hit and it stays forever. And that's something you'll figure out over time, or anyone listening will figure out over time. That sense of abundance and wholeness is cultivated. It's constructed. We are actually, for the most part, unconsciously entering into narratives and beliefs where we're not enough. I'm not enough. This world isn't enough. We need to fix, change, become better, always. And interestingly, that leads to all this seeking where, the promised land is somewhere else. It's not, it couldn't be here because this just isn't enough. And what happens when you flip that story? You say, actually, this is enough. And that includes my external circumstances, how much money I'm making, the friends that I have. It includes the feelings that are coming through my body. It includes grief. It includes anger. Includes confusion. Everything is included when you're really in abundance. You're like, oh, this is perfect exactly as it is. I'm good. And this is actually a cure for anxiety. Because anxiety is like, we need to change something. Something has to be altered in my life or about me, or I hope no one perceives me in a weird way. I hope I don't say something weird. I hope I don't smell gross. Valid, but like, is it okay? Is it okay if you fuck up? Is it, you know what I mean? So it's really, and that's an open question for everyone to explore, I think. And it takes that exploration and being really honest. Is it okay if I'm not perfect? Is it okay if my life isn't perfect? Is it okay if tragedies happen? Is it? It's I can't say yes or no. That's what every single person has to decide. And again, the first step is becoming conscious that we have a choice. Life is not just given. It's constructed. It's a co-creation. And we forget that. And thus we're just getting bent over by life sometimes, getting fucked. And it's like, okay, we need to recognize we have a role to play in this. We need to recognize how might I be constructing some of my suffering? Just open that question. How? Am I constructing some of my suffering? Is this completely necessary? These are hard questions at first, because this is ultimately what I see as the maturation process in consciousness, where I'm taking the reins back over my experience. I'm recognizing, oh, I'm not just gonna let it go and just get like wrecked by the waves of life. I have control, and I can whip that horse into shape so that you have control over your experience from the inside out. And it's pushing yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, seeing what you're made of. When you feel desire, acting from that, not in an unhealthy, toxic way, but listening to the will of creation and trusting that. And again, recognizing if I'm having a bad time, how might I be constructing this? And these things are practices where it's like, if we're in a rut over just like an afternoon or even weeks, months, even if you really are practicing opening, it might not help immediately. So in the long term, learning how to open and stop our resistance to basically reduce our suffering, that will serve you over your whole life. Where the weeds of suffering in various forms, lack, guilt, shame, they don't sprout because we nip them. We pull those weeds before they have a chance to really take up space. And then life can get really, really good really fast. And again, that's what happens when my happiness and my suffering are all on me. It's not on anyone else. Life can pull some shit and it can hurt, but we have a choice. Am I going to make myself suffer right now? Am I going to torture myself? And for me, when you've really zoomed out enough to see, oh, I'm torturing myself. When you see that again with your own eyes, you just stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a task. You just obviously stop doing this torturous thing. And that's, again, this is, I always will plug meditation because it's the most important thing a human being can do for themselves. First, just slowing down the mind so I can actually just see what's going on. Because how are you gonna like deconstruct the experience of suffering when you don't even know why you're suffering? Because most people have this, like with anxiety, it's this amorphous big cloud of scary shit. And I don't really know where it's coming from, or it's just a feeling in my body. Sit with it. Give it some space. And what is asking to come through and speak to you will. And if that's fear about the future, regret about the past, uncertainty, great. Let it speak. And all of a sudden, again, you're not afraid of the suffering. And you see where it's coming from. Oh, I'm afraid because I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't know my 10-year plan. I don't have a vision. Okay, now you know. And how then can I relate to that fear in a way that just dismantles the suffering, dismantles the this isn't good enough experience, replacing it with something, again, just dripping in acceptance, love, compassion. And how does that affect your experience? So,
yeah. And I feel like too, a lot of things in life are just absolutely out of your hands, out of your control. And it's when we resist that, when we're like, oh, I wish I could change this. I wish this was different, but there's absolutely no possibility for it to be different. Being able to be open to that and just letting that happen and see where that goes. Yeah. I remember when I was 18, I was working in this fuck ass cafe in Zion National Park, and we were fucking slammed one day. And we had these angry customers yelling at us. And my boy Ray, he looks at me, he goes, Jeff, sometimes dead ass, they're just going to have to wait, homie. And like, I've taken that mindset and applied it to so much shit in life where it's like, yeah, actually, sometimes it's just out of your control, and you are going to cause yourself to suffer greatly if you mentally just wish things were different without any vehicle to actually control it.
Exactly. And that's a great real world example of what I'm talking about. For me, what I can speak to is my experience of depression, which lasted for quite a while. I never got diagnosed, but cripplingly depressed. Like at the end of undergrad, I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Girlfriend of 4 years broke up with me. I was like, what's worth doing? I don't know. And basically, I ended up in these really, really dark places. And eventually, I remember I was in India actually, and I had this big break where I was like, if I have to be a loser, if I'm basically socially handicapped, because legitimately people see me today and think, oh, he's always been this stud chiller type. And it's like, well, actually not when I was insanely depressed. I couldn't look people in the eyes because I hated myself too much, and it was too intense of a mirror for my own judgment. People would speak and I didn't even know what they said. I was so dissociated. It was dark. And again, I'm so thankful for it now. It made me who I am, and I'm stoked on that. But there was a time in India, because I was like, I need to figure this shit out. People go to India to end their suffering. Let's just fucking check it out. And I think I might have talked about this already, but I was on lockdown there for COVID. I was at this ashram in northern India. And it dawned on me. It was like, I'm just torturing myself. If I have to be a loser the rest of my life, fuck it. I don't have the energy for this. And it was that where I was like, again, dead ass, maybe life just has to wait. And that's when things started to shift. Again, it's a paradox. Like, of course we want to resist the crippling depression and the feeling like a loser. Duh. Of course we want to resist that. It's really natural, but unfortunately it's not the move. That resistance is making it worse. And for me, it was like resist. And the more I resisted, the more crippling the depression got. The more I couldn't think, the more I couldn't eat. And it was not until, again, it reached such an intensity that it broke me the fuck open. Where I was so broken of like this acceptance of, I guess I'm a loser forever. And I just came to this point of acceptance where that was that expansion and love that made that psychological formation flexible and mobile. Where all of a sudden I'm like, actually, maybe there's a different way of relating to this. Maybe there's a different way of seeing it. And things really started to change after that. And I started to really step into the person that I am now. Oh, I mean, it took many years. Like you could say that unfolding from that opening is still happening right now, actually. And it was just profoundly meaningful. It was so intense going from like, yeah, cripplingly depressed and really like honestly handicapped. I was like, what job can I do here? I can't talk to people. I'm like, just gonna work at a grocery store. Like, so yeah, that was dark. And again, I think taking these concepts and being able to ground them in real world examples is huge, because it can be very amorphous and some people it resonates with and some people need that like what are we talking about right now?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So you said that it got to a point where it just broke you open and allowed you to step into who you are now. I feel like that can go one of two ways. Either you become aware of it and you let the love come in and you let it operate your life, or it goes the complete opposite way. And that's where we get into the talk about people committing suicide.
Yeah. Deeper contraction. So again, for me, it's like, I feel so blessed that there were angels on my shoulders that were like, it's okay, you can let go. When I'm getting chills saying that, because it is like that. Had certain experience in my life where it really does feel like angels on my shoulders, like there's presences and they're telling you something. And I think, yeah, again, I feel so blessed on that. And it helped me again break that contractive spasm. It's really like a cramp. It's like your muscles start to cramp. And because they're cramped, they're locked up even more. And then it's unoperable. You know what I mean? You got to like stretch out your arm and massage that thing. And that's the thing. That's what's going on in the psyche. With contractions, it hurts and it's tight. And because it's so tight and it hurts, it locks up even more and more and more and more. And then where do you think it's going? It's getting to this black hole level density. And that's an interesting image. A black hole. It's just, massive, dense, solid. Light can't get in there. Light can't escape it. And that's the thing. How do we loosen those knots in the psyche? It's sometimes you need like a massage. You need help from another to offer different ways of seeing things. Also, just holding space. When someone is extremely contracted, either they hate themselves, they're really having a difficult time with grief or loss, actually just holding space. You're injecting spaciousness into their experience, where this pain is allowed. And this is part of psychotherapy. This is part of good friendships, part of community, is holding space for people when life gets really hard. Because that just the holding space, you don't have to say anything. You can just be there. And that holding space allows for people to enter into that grief, that pain, that contraction. And it allows it to move a little bit. And so this is a co-creation, right? Because those contractions, when I feel like a piece of shit or I feel like I'm nothing, that's the hardest thing to share with the people that I care about. But at the same time, that is where the most progress happens. Can we go to those dark places and have the courage to say what we need to say, to be able to receive that help, that love, not just from unseen things, but from the people in our lives who can help us, who can hold space for us. And for me, it's like, yes, community is about support. Like we get support, but we get so much value in our lives and in our experience when we get to hold the people we love. And it gives me chills because we forget about that. We get so caught up in me. Your value. What about the story of your life when you get to be an angel for somebody and lift them out of the fucking trenches? We forget about that. And we're like, oh, if I'm not making more money or I'm not going to the Bahamas, sorry, I don't know. And that sort of selfish, contracted, demonic kind of way of relating, it's just not the optimal way to operate. Again, how much meaning do we get? How strong are our community bonds when I recognize the value of service, especially to the people I love? And like, what would happen when everyone could recognize that, break the spell of the contracted separate self, open up to, we're all in this together. We're all one. When my homie is suffering, I am. When even when a homeless dude on the street is suffering, I am. How do we interact with the world then? How? And again, what's the value of actually helping your friends? How good do you feel? Am I the only one? I don't know. It seems like just obvious now that I'm talking about it, but it's and again, I think how much of the mental health crisis is in response to this very tight, contracted sense of separation. where it's only about me.
Mm-hmm.
And this ego, this very contracted me, will never be satisfied. Never. There's nothing you can do where the ego is going to be like, oh, that's it. Now we're good forever. That's not how the ego functions. The ego functions on more. So we never get rest. And that's the thing. So many people are caught in that, almost the hungry ghost realm in Buddhism, where it's these beings with, massive stomachs and mouths the size of a pinhole. That's, the image. And how many people can never get enough and are stuck walking over other people in our culture and in the world because they can never get enough because they're too trapped in the contraction. And I'm just like, there's no need. So yeah, again, for your own sake, how can you be of service to the world? And not just you, I'm talking to everybody. How can we be of service? Because the way I see it, we are like the plants and the trees. They're all bearing fruit, giving flowers, feeding the insects, feeding the creatures. And it's like, until we find that way to give, something's missing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are like, maybe I need another vacation. Maybe you need to make an impact on the world, because that's you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to make this place more like heaven on earth, as opposed to sucks to suck that fucking people are dying all over the place, sucks that there's inequality at, increasing levels throughout the world. And the thing is, that's you. Again, so the way I put it, the same consciousness that sees my life, my experience, my body, has my mind, experiences my thoughts. That same consciousness is experiencing your life, experiencing your body, your thoughts. Same seer. Same with the people, the homeless dude struggling on the street. Same consciousness, same witness, different life, different medium. And the thing is, when you recognize that, I think I might have talked about this in the last podcast, but it's like a double-edged sword that some people don't want to get close to. Because not only are you free from, the illusion of separation and the illusion of death, actually, but you're also taking on the pain of all of existence, of not just people on this earth, of all beings, all animals, because that's you too, minerals, plants, all beings beyond this planet. When we have that sort of non-dual perspective, it's all you. And there's pros and cons to that. And when you recognize that it's all you just by default, you're in service to it. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to figure out how to do that. And interestingly, again, the more that if we really recognize we're all one, that's a beautiful insight, but you cannot just sit with it and then operate in your normal existence the way you have been operating. You need to act on those insights in order to solidify them, in order to make them real. Because it's all empty, right? If I want to make something seem real, I need to act from that place. If I act from love, I make it more real. If I act from fear, I make it more real. So if I act from that place of, how would I operate if we actually were all one? Probably quite differently than the way that most people do. And interestingly, if we can act from that place of, we're all one, we're all in this together, and again, operate from that place, you're making it more real. Mm-hmm. Because again, we don't have to just buy the conditioned narrative that we're being spoon-fed, which is separation, materialism, reductionism. We can actually choose and start to nourish different narratives, different understandings and insights. Like, okay, if we feed that narrative of oneness, what happens to the illusion of separation and death? If you keep feeding it, I will say in my experience, it starts to get very faint, very subtle. Where yes, there's fear there, but you see for what it's just a contraction rooted in ego, actually. The ego is scared of death. And when you're in that place of oneness, what dies? What dies? This body transforms, this mind is no more. We actually don't know that for sure. But opening to faith and constructing new worlds through action. It cannot just be psychological. It starts in the mind, in the concepts and the stories. But to make them real, we need to act from them. And I think that's something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, where we can have this gratitude, this I'm cultivating abundance right now. Yeah? How would you live if you actually had it all right now? How are you operating? How do you speak to others? How do you tip at the coffee shop if you already had it? And so that's the thing. We can start to, again, really reaffirm and construct new worlds that break out of honestly, just the perspectives with the most momentum in our culture. Mm-hmm. Just because everyone believes something doesn't make it real. We need to ask these questions for ourselves. Is this real, and how do I know? And for me, just to end, I use the body as a compass. Nagarjuna, one of the Buddha's disciples, said something along the lines of, the ultimate reality is peace. The ultimate reality is radical peace. So if you want to get closer to truth, follow your body. How does it feel when I think I'm separate? Probably hurts. How does it feel when I think I'm less than? It hurts. Great. The body's a compass, and it's telling you, let's try a different way of seeing things right now. This is not it. And I'm letting you know that because it's painful. So let's keep moving. Let's keep finding different narratives, different experiences to try on. So listening to the body, where is there that expansion? Where is there that contraction? And if there's contraction, maybe that's an indication of maybe I should try a different way of seeing things, a different way of operating, instead of just thinking, oh, this is objectively how things are.
And I feel like that the ability to be that aware of it, I think if we could put it in one word, is presence. If you are able to live in the present moment and you are able to be deeply aware of quite literally everything that's going on around you, like for us right now, feeling the chair that we're sitting in, feeling the air of the room and things like that, you can begin to expand that. You can expand it to outside of this room. What's going on downtown? What's going on in Boulder? And the more that you can be aware of that, the less separate that we become. Yeah. And that I think is honestly the most powerful tool to get your mind going in that direction.
In the direction of more expansion. And it's all very simple. Like I'm using a lot of big words and it might be difficult for some people to follow, but ultimately this whole system, this whole mechanism going on is extremely simple. It's like expansion or contraction. And you can feel it in your body. When there's contraction in your throat, in your chest, in your head, you feel it. It's either on or off. And when it's expansion and relaxation, you feel nothing. So it's almost just duality, really. There's nothing wrong with any of it. Not with the contractions, not with the expansions, obviously. But again, it is very simple. And the deepest understanding that I really will push till I die is the fundamental emptiness of all of it. Everything that is causing us contraction or expansion, that is causing us fear or love, is constructed. We have a role to play in the construction of every experience we've ever had. And this is what gets me the fuck off, is deep experiences of meaningfulness where I'm brought to tears in the mountains thinking about the people I love and the beauty of existence. That does not just happen. We are creating those experiences and I'm getting chills because you can make them as deep as you want. You can make them as profound as you want, where you are talking to God in the clouds and no one can tell you otherwise. When you have that relationship, that firm rootedness in the fundamental emptiness of all of it, we are constructing gods or the lack thereof, and we get to choose. And interestingly, the more I talk to God, the more he talks to me back. And it's, again, like angels on my shoulders. Again, we are constructing this. And it's not just, with divinity and spirit, it's with the people in your life. We get to choose, how deep do I want these relationships to be? How much do I want to say, I love you? How much do I want to recognize that this won't last forever? No matter what, it won't last forever. And there's a quote I love, and maybe we'll end on this for now, unless I don't let you plug yourself up, obviously. But everything that we love will be taken from us. Everything we love will at some point be taken from us, but it will always return to us in various forms, with different faces. Always, it's the ebb and flow, the low and high tide. Can we let go when it's time for things to go? Can we? It's up to you. It's really how much suffering do you want to construct for yourself? It's directly correlated to how much clinging there is. And can we have faith that it's on its way back? And working to construct more of the experiences that make life worth living, because again, they're constructed. So I'll let you finish on that and then give you a shout out.
I think.
Are we gonna wrap there?
Yeah, let's wrap there.
My fucking dude. This is Jeffrey fucking Kennedy. Do you want to shout out your socials or anything else?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram at J.D.K. ___. Be posting up a lot of shit from the mountain adventures, a lot of snowboarding content going to be coming here in the next couple months.
Yep.
And yeah.
Jeff is a up and coming star in the outdoor industry. I'm just letting y'all know. He was on this podcast first before he pops the fuck off. And I fucking love you, bro. Thank you for being on this.
Yes, sir.
Cool.